all for being with us today on Thursday with Hurricane Delta in the Gulf of Mexico. We have signed the state of emergency yesterday afternoon thanks to our federal partners, and we're so honored to have our Region 4 coordinator here, and Gracia's going to speak a little bit later on behalf of FEMA. We have a great partnership with them and appreciate Gracia being here today. Over the last 18 to 24 hours, it has become more and more likely that this particular storm is going to track very similarly, if not identical, to Hurricane Laura, which makes landfall expected in the vicinity of Cameron Parish, Louisiana, which again is near Lake Charles. We believe that landfall is going to most likely occur around 7 p.m. tomorrow, Friday night, potentially as a Cat 2 hurricane with winds as high as 105 miles an hour at landfall. We expect and we anticipate, and again, as we have seen throughout 2020, we must expect the unexpected and we must be prepared for the worst. But we currently expect landfall to be at Cameron Parish, 7 p.m. Friday night. We anticipate that the storm will likely enter into Mississippi near Myersville at approximately 11 a.m. Saturday. We anticipate that there would be sustained winds at that time between 45 and 50 miles an hour. We believe that the most likely arrival time of tropical storm force winds in portions of our state will occur at 5 p.m. on Friday, primarily in the coastal counties as well as the southwest counties of our state in and around Natchez and Adams County. The winds are forecasted to be in the neighborhood of 50 to 60 miles an hour at times in the 6 southwestern counties. The most likely scenario with respect to tornadoes, which we always know during hurricanes that there is a real potential for spin-off tornadoes. The highest likelihood of that is in the south part of our state in Pearl River and Hancock counties. But we do have some level of risk, marginal chances of tornadoes in the rest of our state as well. We expect the storm at this time to depart the vicinity of Corinth, Mississippi, sometime in the middle of the night around 2 a.m. on Sunday. And so we anticipate this storm, or at least what's left of the eye of it, will only spend about 30 hours in Mississippi. But during that time, we do expect significant rainfall, up to 4 to 6 inches in the southwestern counties, and maybe in some of the western delta counties that are on the Mississippi River. For most areas west of I-55, we anticipate at least 2 to 4 inches of rain, and the potential for between 0 and 2 inches of rain for the rest of the state of Mississippi. Again, it appears that the storm track is going to be very, very similar to that of Hurricane Laura earlier this summer, but we also know that that can change very quickly. We'll continue to monitor it. Our team at the Mississippi Emergency Management Agency, and working with FEMA, we have deployed assets and resources to each and every one of those counties that need it. We also have the potential of deploying National Guard resources should that become necessary. And in addition to that, we are going to be here to help our fellow Mississippians should that become necessary. We have also seen shelters being opened in certain areas of the state, and I'm going to let Greg give you some specifics with respect to that. We're hopeful that that will not be necessary, but as we always say, we want to prepare for the worst, pray for the best, and expect somewhere in between. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Director Michelle, and then I'll turn it over, or he'll turn it over to Gracia, our FEMA Region 4 coordinator. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. If I can just take a second to just give you the current posturing for the state of Mississippi and assets that we have along. Mississippi's Emergency Operations Center is currently operating at a level 2 partial, and we will certainly remain that way post landfall and draw that down at whatever time warrants conditions to do so. The governor signed into effect state of emergency yesterday. At the same time, we submitted to FEMA our request for an emergency measures pre-landfall declaration. We did receive word today that that had been approved. So we very much appreciate the White House and FEMA support there. Our current posture: since Tuesday, we have delivered approximately 161,000 sandbags as part of the local preparation in response to storm surge, flooding, flash flooding, and the effects of hurricane. State search and rescue assets have been and still are on standby to respond to affected counties within Mississippi, or also either to respond to our neighbors in Louisiana that are currently slated to get the brunt of the storm. The Mississippi Army National Guard, as the governor's already mentioned, we've got 3 composite teams that are going to be prepared to respond over into Pike County and stage there in the event that our more affected counties from the wind threat and to respond and support them as necessary. There are currently 11 shelters that are on standby. There are about 3 of those shelters that are prepared to go live tomorrow to be open if necessary to support individuals seeking refuge and provide shelter for evacuees. The medical needs shelter in Wiggins, Mississippi will open at 9 a.m. as a precautionary measure to take on medical needs patients there. We've got a full complement, has already been identified there, with Ms. Gracia Sheck, our FEMA Region 4 Administrator, is on the ground with us. So a full complement of our federal partners from FEMA with Ms. Sheck. Our federal coordinating officer is on site, and then we fully integrated FEMA's IMAT team, Incident Management Assessment team, here at the State Emergency Operations Center this morning. And finally, we're fully integrated with our local emergency management operations centers out in the counties and the affected counties. And we currently have 3 of our own area coordinators that are embedded in 3 of those counties, respectively in Adams, Hancock, and Harrison. And we have additional area coordinators set to deploy in the event that those counties receive damage. The COVID logistical operations, they are ongoing through today. We will suspend COVID logistical resupply tomorrow, and it will stay that way until the threat passes, and we will be prepared to resume deliveries and emergency resupply over the weekend. Just to touch on some of the things the governor's already mentioned, biggest concerns for us right now, even though that this storm currently is slated and has shifted to the west to take on a track that we saw previously with Laura, we still have big concerns that are wind related. We can expect for potentially dangerous sustained winds and wind gusts for portions of extreme southwest Mississippi and along the Mississippi River, up to 65 miles an hour in certain targeted counties as Wilkinson, Amite, Adams, Jefferson, Franklin, and Claiborne. And that does not preclude any of the other counties along the state to be under threat as well. We also are looking at rain, however, not as much rain as we initially thought. 2 to 4 inches in portions of west central and northern counties in Mississippi, 1 to 2 inches for the remainder of the state. You can pretty much expect these effects to linger starting late tomorrow afternoon through Friday night and into Saturday morning, at which time we hope to see the remnants leaving the state. I do want to remind folks 2 things. Number 1, continue to pay attention to the weather alerts across the state, directions that you get from your emergency managers. Any shift or slight change in the storm could affect us tremendously, so we've got to continue to stay on our toes. And then finally, a reminder, if you seek refuge in a shelter, you are going to be required to wear a mask, whether the mask that you bring. If not, masks will be provided for you as well as hand sanitizer. Continue to remain vigilant, and let's get through this event. The light at the end of the tunnel, the end of hurricane season is near, so let's just continue to work hard. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Grace Shachek. I'm the Regional Administrator at FEMA Region 4. As the Governor stated, the President declared an emergency declaration for the state of Mississippi, and I know Mississippi stands ready to respond to any disaster, and that's thanks to the leadership of the Governor Reeves and Director Michelle. Thank you. FEMA's got a great partnership with Mississippi Emergency Management Agency, and we stand ready to support. As you've heard, an incident management assistance team is here, and they're ready at the State Emergency Operations Center. They're working directly with the state officials here at MEMA and anticipate any needs. The Regional Response Coordination Center in Atlanta has been activated, and there are some of our federal partners, such as Health and Human Services, Department of Defense, Energy, Army Corps of Engineers. Meals, water, and generators are pre-staged in Selma, Alabama, and are available for quick mobilization if needed. While Hurricane Delta is predicted to make landfall in Louisiana, it will affect areas to both the east and the west. And as the Governor and the Director have stated, we urge all residents to focus on possible impacts here in the state of Mississippi and listen to the local officials and local emergency management for further information. Thank you.